Thank you again for doing this with me.
Yeah, no worries, man. Yeah.
So first of all, before we really talk about the entrepreneurial mindset that you have, just could you quickly talk about your background, both business and outside of business and entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Background, long and short of it. Obviously, kind of grew up as a skier, and that was the only thing I ever wanted to be since I was like 6 years old. But I did, graduated high school, went to University of California in Santa Cruz, UCSC, and but kind of did that just so as a backup plan because I was still trying to be just a skier first and foremost. And then, being in the ski space, essentially you kind of have to be your own kind of business manager. I never had worked with an agent up until very, very recently. And, kind of started learning about business through the ski industry and through managing my own kind of career and going to meetings, marketing meetings, just being involved on the business side quite often because I was very fascinated by it. And I knew that my job as a pro skier was pretty reliant on it. And then in 2010, my roommate and I started a business called Arcade Belts, which is now, we are 10 years in on that. Have 13 full-time employees, and started a real business out of sewing belts in our living room to, now sold around the globe and have 2,000-3,000 accounts now. I don't even know anymore.
Wow.
So,
did you just develop a passion for business over time, or did it just kind of come when you had the idea for your company?
I think it was just out of curiosity because I didn't know much about being a pro skier other than just the hey, ski well side of aspect of it, which is the obvious thing is that you ski well, you ski at an exceptional level, you're in movies and you're in the magazines and you're good at it. But I knew there was more to it. And I knew you're not just getting paid just because you ski well. There was some other deeper connection to it. And early in my career, I would say I wasn't just kind of taking off. So I knew I had to develop kind of my business skills. So I think I really just was pretty adamant about going to sales meetings for, let's say, Solomon, going to marketing meetings, just picking people's brains about it. It was just pure curiosity that really started it. And I wouldn't say it was like a passion for business other than just, it was like, I should probably know what my job really entails because it's quite a mystery on the outside if you don't know.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial mindset, which is really what my class is focused on. First of all, what do you think determines someone's entrepreneurial mindset?
I would deem it down to curiosity. I think quite often in life, the people that are curious, that are just kind of keep diving deeper and deeper, end up doing kind of special things, whether that's in, athletic performance and hey, how hard can I push my body? How hard can I do this? And it's kind of this innate curiosity, to the same for business, is that you just have this this innate feeling of what's to it? What's the magic sauce behind creating a business? Because from the outside, it feels like it's some sort of magic voodoo. But you start to learn it and you realize it's actually it's pretty simple when you break it all down. And I would just, I think that's the best word I've found to kind of define the entrepreneurial mindset.
So that kind of leads into my next question. So besides curiosity, what do you think are some of your strengths with your entrepreneurial mindset, and what helps you be successful with your company?
Yeah, I would say I get obsessive about things. I get if I kind of start going down a path that I'm curious about or interested by, I'll dive as deep as I can into it. So then I'll just kind of absorb and just be all my focus goes into that. So when you start a business, it's just literally talking to everyone I know and reaching out to successful business people to reading every book out there to reading blogs to just being like so absorbed with it that it's the only thing you're kind of thinking about. And I do that with sports. I do that with a lot of things. There has to be some sort of passion behind it to drive that obsession. Otherwise, you know, if you don't have the passion, I don't think you'll have that push, that internal motivation to continually dive deeper. But yeah, I think it's just a little bit of obsession and you know, this confidence and knowing that, yeah, this is right, and I'm going to keep diving in on it.
And, you know, that kind of goes along with the theme of my class, the curiosity and passion. It comes up time and time and again. So it's really, you can see this consistent trend with you. So you kind of already touched on this, but so especially with the curiosity, do you think that that's one of your big benefits from being a professional skier, is that you were able to like expand on your curiosity by talking to Solomon, I think you said?
Yeah, no, I would say there's two sides to that, as being that, like, yeah, the job itself is kind of, you kind of make it up on your own, and you can create it on your own. So then just my curiosity into learning what the important aspects of it were for the business that is essentially employing you, and in a certain way partnering with you. It's less employing because you almost kind of got to treat yourself like a business. And then the next part, I guess, would just be, the fact is that as a pro skier, you got a lot of time off. You know, for the most part, we have 5 to 6 months of the season where we're not full bore doing our job. I've managed to fill up that time with a lot of other things. And that first thing was starting a business. It used to be just like different activities, whether it was like fly fishing or mountain biking. And then, you know, as you start to kind of, I'd always had this mindset. I was like, oh, it'd be fun to start a business one day. And then as you start to get into it and you realize, you're like, oh yeah, I've got like 6 months of the year where I can really focus on this. And obviously I had to have good partners to be able to achieve that. But I was able to just dive head deep and, you know, be a kind of true business person for 6 months of the year.
My dog just ran into my door. So you kind of talked about how you've always been kind of this obsessive and curious person, but do you think that's just specific to you, or do you think that like the traits that a person has for their entrepreneurial mindset is natural, or can they be developed?
I think it can be developed for sure, because when I broke it down, you know, there's these people that we see that are like unbelievably successful, and, you know, they're like, oh, they had the magic touch, or they're just where you saw things before they happened, and we kind of focus on those. But there's, you know, millions of successful businesses that aren't necessarily the unicorns that we all talk about and focus about, but that like do well and support families, support towns, support communities. They're the lifeblood of you know, the American dream. So I kind of think like quite often business is actually quite simple, and you just kind of have to find what you're passionate about and interested about, and you can kind of turn that into a business. I think we all have our own thing that we're super interested in. And I think sometimes it takes exploration. I think when you're young, you don't know exactly what that is. I felt I was lucky. I knew exactly what that is from a young age, being that I was skiing. But from there, you know, it's like just developing other kind of, I think just finding that thing that innately drives you and then figuring it out how to create a business out of it is kind of the purpose. Like I would always tell people, like, don't try to invent something to start a business. Like do what you do, whether that's like, you know, gaming, or whether that's skiing, or whether that's, you know, just these pursuits in your life, and then like tweak that to create your own business. Because yeah, I think the times that I see failure and the times that I see like just not even necessarily happiness that comes from it is from people that are like, I want to be a business person and I want to be rich and I want to set my own hours. But if you don't have that back end passion, you're not going to necessarily have what it takes to kind of keep pushing when it gets hard, because it does get hard, and keep pushing when you don't want to push anymore, and then you just get burnt out by it. So I think you really have to find that thing that you're passionate about and be patient for it, and then create your business around that.
So when you were first starting Arcade Belts, do you think that your mindset changed at all or adapted with you and your company?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it changed my way I look at my own job as a professional skier a ton. Just seeing the relationship between what marketing and sales that ultimately drive it. And then, the big thing was it's like you wake up to the realization that it is hard, that there's a lot to figure out, and that it takes a lot of hard work. I would say, like, I guess the origination of it was that there was like, it came from skiing. We were like, oh, there's no belt for skiing and we're skiers. And we're kind of like, wait, yeah, like something like the stretchy belt would be way better. And then from there, it was like, we just had this idea driven by our passion for skiing. And then we're like, let's figure it out as we go. We didn't know anything going into it. I looked back and I was like, oh yeah, I knew a lot because I was in sales meetings and marketing meetings, but really didn't know that much. And we just figured it out on the fly and we taught ourselves as we went. I continually tell people, I'm like, if someone would have given us $1 million in like seed funding to start, we would have been out of business. But because we started slow, we figured it out on the fly with making mistakes that were not fatal errors, and we were just watching every dollar come in and out very, very carefully was the way we were able to succeed.
And then, so I can see my time's kind of running down. So this is just my last couple questions. So, what challenges did Arcade Belts face, and then how do you think that your entrepreneurial mindset helped you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, well, what we're facing right now is, as the keyword of the world right now, is unprecedented. We don't necessarily know how it's going to be. I think the thing about it is adaptation. They're trying to figure out ways to change your company's business model, the way you sell things, the way your products itself, and trying to adapt really quickly because things are changing by the day. As soon as essentially the shutdown hit, we had to furlough most of our employees, and we went to a strictly online, model, and we were able to massively, I think we quadrupled our weekly sales online within the first week, and just put effort into that. And I think being just continually focused and that passion to like, hey, let's make this work because we believe it works, and has made us get to this point. Right now, we do have all our employees are back, which is great, but the future is very uncertain, and we're going to have to adapt on the fly. And, we're in a certain way going back to day one too, where back in the day, we would jump in our car and drive to retailers and shake their hands and try and put a face to the product. And while we might not be able to shake their hands anymore, we're kind of going back to that strategy as retailers start to open back up, of being like, all right, we got to, create a very personal relationship with these guys and gals at the retail level, because it's our only mode of survival. And you go back to that, the entrepreneurial mindset in many ways beyond that curiosity is just kind of also figure it out. Like just do something. Don't wait for the magic bullet. I tell people, if in your brain you think like making 1,000 phone calls over the course of a week is good for your company, then make 1,000 phone calls. Don't wait for no, if we create the right ad scheme and we do find this magic bullet, then we won't have to do that. You're like, no, just go do it. Do the 1,000 phone calls. So, that's the grind that they tell you about, but that's where I tell people it's actually quite simple. You just kind of gotta do it.
Fair enough.